Okay. So what are we going to do today? We're going to discuss a couple of things. We're going to first give you an idea of what is there in the content in the three sections. And also, as a faculty or a trainer, I'll give you my views on what should be your input and how should your preparation strategy differ in each of the three papers that we're going to be sitting in the next 9 months. That's the target that I have set for myself. See, I'll be completing the entire syllabus in the next 6 months. End of October is my target. If you are really working with me, I'm pretty sure that you guys would be able to sit for, I don't know, when we sat for my CPA papers, I sat for all four papers. So I don't see any reason why you cannot take three papers together. But for the sake of convenience, we'll break it into two sessions. But my suggestion is before this entire thing undergoes a change next year, and please mind you guys, a big change is coming in the in the US tax laws. Okay, already there were so many issues with Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris thing, but there are big changes that are supposed to be coming in tax laws. So my suggestion is you guys should target that by February, early next year, right? So before February, your target should be January when you should be sitting for all the three papers. Also, there's a lot of issue regarding booking of the papers. These slots are not available very easily. I was made to understand there's a slot that opened in May. My sincere suggestion is please be members of the Telegram group and be a part of the enrolled agents group there. If you're a part of the group, you will see that there are others who've joined whenever the slots are available. So it's like the Tatkal slots that we used to have earlier. Whenever the slots are available and if it matches your timing, please book your paper. Okay, because the slots are not easy to come by. So that should be your priority, fixing the paper. Whenever you see that the slots for the month of November, December, January are opening, please book the slots. Okay, so today first we are going to take you through the overview of what exactly is the content basis for the EA syllabus. Second, I'm going to talk about the exam structure. Now, most of you are aware of this, but the reason I'm going to still cover is to help you understand how we are going to approach the 100 MCQs that you're going to see in your exam. So what is my strategy for cracking those questions? And of course, I'm going to talk about the recommended preparation strategy. So what should you be doing? Assuming that all of you guys are working, what should you guys be doing to ensure that you clear the paper the first time when you sit for it? Okay, so what is my recommended ideal preparation strategy? Okay, now see, now, this is very important, guys. If you understand the difference in the content and the way you have to master those content, then it becomes very easy for us to navigate the next steps. Okay, so you know that there are three rules, that there are three papers, right? You know that we are, so typically in the US, we refer to everything in terms of forms. Okay, so we have form 1040 that we're going to master in the first section. Then we're going to have, so this is generally either you call it business taxation or you call it entity taxation. So we're typically going to talk about the forms which are form 1120, which is for a regular public limited company in the US. Just like we call public limited companies in India, in the US we call them issuers. People who have, or companies who've listed their shares. In India we have SEBI, in the US we have SEC. So we have SEC monitoring those companies. So for all regular public limited companies in the US, which are typically termed as issuers in the US, companies which issue their shares to the general public. And as far as the law is concerned and tax is concerned, we call them C corporations in the US, for whom you're going to have form. Then you have these private limited companies in the US, which are termed as small corps, S corps. And the form that we're going to fill for them is 1120S. And then we have another one, which is 1065, which is for partnerships. Okay. Now, the taxation of partnerships in the US is very different from what we have in India. Okay, now I have a question and I want you guys to answer me this question. Are you comfortable with the Indian tax laws? Actually, what about you? I think Naveen must be, but I just want to touch base with you. How comfortable are you with Indian tax laws? Sakshi?
Ma'am, yes, I have done it once in 2023. After that, I haven't seen it.
But I just see, I don't want you to know the specifics, but it's always easier to have a north and then take you from there to US laws. So I'm not going to cover everything in the Indian laws, but some very basic stuff where it's easier to help you understand the US laws. I might be referring to Indian laws. And if you feel that you're not comfortable or if you've not understood it, please make it a point to mention in the chat panel. We will repeat it. Okay. But just a question. In India, are partnerships separate tax paying entities? Yes, no? Any idea?
Yes, in India they are.
Chat panel. All the
Okay.
questions before you, unless and until I ask you to unmute, please don't unmute. Okay. In India, are partnerships separate tax paying entities? Yes, no. Yeah. So that means what? Partnership does have its own identification number, and when they file their tax return, they have to pay taxes. So you will see that in the US, that's not the case. Partnerships are typically, they're not, so there's a term that we use for them, which is called flow through entities. Partnerships separate are not separate tax paying entities. So there are a whole bunch of flow through entities which starts from sole proprietorships to partnerships to S corps to LLPs, LLCs, LPs, all of them would be there. Okay. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the taxation of the entities. Okay. And here some amount of accounting knowledge will definitely help us. Why? Because how many of you have been associated with Indian corporations tax return? Any association? Tax audits, corporate returns, any association? Have you been doing it? Have you have any idea? Even theoretically, do you know how to fill up the forms? Okay, so both of you are aware of it, right? So how do we start? Let's say if I have to file up a form, no, not individual. I'm talking about corp. Okay, so have you filled up or have you been associated with tax audits of any corporations? Yes, no? So how do we start with the filing up or how do we start with the tax form? What is the base? What is the base? Where do you start? Do you start from scratch? Do you start booking the sales from scratch? So it's a direct method or it's an indirect method. How do you start? Even for individual returns, if you would have filed for profits and loss under business and profession, you would have encountered it. Where do you start?
From my balance sheet and PL account, basically.
So not from balance sheet. Ideally, we start from P&L account, right? So we
Yes.
start from P&L and then from the P&L, you arrive at the taxation P&L. Is that correct? So you
Yes.
figure out what is the difference between tax and what is the difference between the financial laws. So in India, we call them Ind AS. In the US, you call them US GAAP. And then we try to, our base is not starting from scratch. But when you fill up the form, do you fill it up from scratch or do you fill it up from the P&L and then you work back? How do you fill it up?
Generally, we use software, so we don't fill basic details every time.
Okay.
But
Now, this is
basically,
something
start
that,
from P&L.
okay, yeah. So basically, theoretically, if I look at it, no, I'm asking you the presentation of it in the tax form. Okay. Now, okay, I am not too aware. I've done tax audits of a couple of good companies in the past, but I have not been directly associated with tax forms. And apart from filing my own income tax return in India, I am not aware of the firm. So there may be situations where you guys would be more qualified than me in certain situations. And I'm okay with it so long as we are all ready to pull up our knowledge and learn something. Okay. My question is, how do you present it? When you present, and Naveen, you have to help me on this because I don't have an idea about it. I know what happens in the US. I'm not too sure how it is shown in India. In the US, the way you fill it up is different. But when you present it, it starts from, everything. So in India, how does it work? In the software, you just
India,
upload
we have basically five types of income. It's first is
Ah,
income from salary, second is income from house property, third is income from business and profession, fourth is
no,
capital.
I'm just talking about business and profession here. I'm not talking about any other parts.
Yeah.
For
So
corporates,
yeah,
yeah.
for corporates, we start from P&L account.
And then you put it in the software with all the delta, and then you get to know the taxable P&L. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you will see that process more or less is similar in the US taxation also. And that is where I think working knowledge of how P&L works really works. Okay. There are some small differences and some small taxation differences. So if I have to cull in my accounting knowledge, and if I tell you the reasons why deferred taxes are booked in the books. So you will see that concept, that small concept, we would be using a lot in business taxation. Okay. And then, of course, we have all of this theory, which I feel is very interesting, but it is critical because you have to understand that you get a full 100 marks paper only from theory. Okay, so we are going to talk here all about three things. So, okay, if I look at the content very nicely now, so this is a broader heading. Okay, if I go into the specificity and if I get into what is the detailed syllabus for each one of them, so a major chunk, roughly around 95% of the syllabus for the first part comes from Form 1040. And this is where I want to also mention something else for you. Okay, Now see, this also has something which is called Schedule C. And Schedule C is your business and profession gain. So we call it self-employed income. Self-employed business income. Okay, so if I look at it, now see, understand that business has nothing to do with how you are filing the paperwork. When I say, let's say if I form Pixalearn and if I'm now running this company, I can file the paperwork for a sole proprietor. I can file the paperwork for a partnership, LLP, LLC, one person company, C Corp, anything. Work that we do and the filing that happens are two separate things. So the work keeps on happening, and then depending on the filing, there would be a tax impact. And tax plays a huge in understanding how should I be filing the paperwork, right? Because depending on what is my if I'm saving more taxes by filing as a C Corp versus filing as a one person company versus filing as a partnership, now that tax saving is an enormous tax saving. Okay. Any idea what is the highest tax slab for individuals in the US and in India? Any idea? Just write in the chat.
50% in US.
No, it's not 50%. So again, two things. Okay. Write in the chat panel, Aveen, okay? See, there is something called federal tax in the US. Just like in India, we have central and states. In the US, we call them federal and states. Central, the word center is replaced by the term federal. But the difference is in the autonomy of the two things in India as well as in the US. So when you say 50%, Naveen, generally when you hear 50%, it also includes state taxes. Okay, so yes, tentatively around 47-48% is the tax impact, but that includes state taxes. Now in our CPA syllabus, in our EA syllabus, we are not going to talk about the state taxes at all. We are only talking about the federal tax. Now in the US, the way the US economy has been functioning, you have a tremendous autonomy of the states, and then there are some federal taxes which are applicable for all the entities in the US, irrespective of the states. Now, for our EA syllabus, we are only going to talk about federal taxes, and not just federal, it's federal direct taxes only. We are not going to talk about indirect taxes, so nothing about excise, customs, GST, nothing of the sort. We're just going to talk about direct federal taxes. So for direct federal tax as an individual, the highest tax slab is 37%. Any idea about corporates? What is the highest tax slab for corporates in the US? Any idea? There's only one flat rate slab. Any idea what is that? Okay, that's 21%. Okay, so that's 21% in the US. Okay, and here you will see there's a whole history of Trump coming into picture. Before him, Obama was there. Even now, if Kamala would have come into picture, then the tax laws would have undergone a huge change. Okay, so first you have to understand that what you're studying today is something which is very dynamic, very interesting, but with course of time, this is something that is not static. And what we are trying to impart, so what the aim of my way of teaching is to help you understand the base and the crux. So it's like I want you to understand the heart of US tax laws, because after that I may change things here and there. You should be able to understand not just, cosmetic changes, but deep rooted changes. What is the impact of the changes that we're talking about? So as and when I'm teaching, I am going to refer to some basic differences that happened once Trump came into power. He brought in something which was called Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Tax Cut and Jobs Act. So with effect from 1st of January 2019, when this act came into force, so it's very commonly referred to as the TCJA Act, there was a big overhaul in the US taxation syllabus and in the US tax laws. Why? Because he came with a very strong agenda that immigrants have to be removed. The US economy. So, his target, if you look at his portfolio or his promises, he wanted to shift the manufacturing base to the US. He wanted to prevent a lot of immigrants coming into the US. And you will see all of this reflected in the tax laws. So when we are going to talk about each specific area, we are going to refer to the changes that has happened via the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. So the major chunk of individual taxation is Form 1040. But here you have to understand that there is a big part here of Schedule C, which is sole proprietorship. Again, the way a sole proprietorship is taxed in the US, you'll be surprised to see that there are a lot of entities in the US which more or less will follow the same concept. So This concept is very important because one of the entities that will be taxed in part 2 is also sole proprietorship. So what we are going to do is, if you look at your schedule, and I'm going to take you to the schedule at the end of this session, we are going to talk about this portion along with part 1 because they're very related concepts. So when we are doing 1040, at the time of doing sole proprietorship, I will also take you. So basically, in terms of the number of study units that you have in GLINE, the first to 8 study units in GLINE talks about the basics of sole proprietorship and the way you're going to tax certain items for income and expenses. That part, when we're doing it with part 1, we're going to club it. So essentially, after we've finished part 1, so I think we have scheduled 60 hours, that means 30 sessions for part 1. You would also be finishing tentatively 8 sessions for part 2. And we will be left with only 15 more sessions for part 2. So here we are just going to talk about entity taxation. So remember, there would be an overlap. I will have mentioned it in the study schedule, the session plan that I've mentioned. Very detailed way, I have mentioned which study unit and which topic. So when you pick up the questions, I would want you to do part 1 and 8 topics of part 2 together so that those synergies can be utilized at your end. So this is roughly 95% of the syllabus. There is also another part which is called property taxation. Here you will see, so in India we call this as capital gains, right? So there's a whole bunch of capital gains rules in India. And you will see that there's a big change in the way Indians deal with capital gains and the way US deals with capital gains. But this concept that you're going to pick up in capital gains is going to be same conceptually for C Corps and for sole proprietorships. So this is another area where there is a synergy between the two. So both sole proprietorship income and deductions and property taxation, we are going to, so all of this is between modules 1 to 8. So we are going to take all of that together. And when I'm covering a concept, I'm going to cover it together for part 1 and for part. Okay, apart from that, there's something called gift tax. Again, this is a very interesting area in the US. Very, very interesting area because the concept that they have for gift taxation and estate taxation, that's a unique concept because you will see, okay, I'm also going to refer to certain podcasts when we are referring in the class. I'm going to give you a reference to those podcasts and I would want you to hear those podcasts. Okay, I want you to start feeling US taxes because when you start feeling those taxes, now you will start understanding why was this particular provision into the picture, how it grew. So once you start understanding that, it will be so much easier for you to first solve the questions and clear your exam. But even later on in life, when you're applying these in your real life, you will feel the difference. So we're going to refer to some live podcasts also. I'm going to just give you reference to that, and it would be great if you can take some time out and you can hear those podcasts. So remember, business income, business expenses, property taxation, we're going to do part 1 and part 2 together. So the idea is, I think there are 14 modules in part 1 and there are 8 modules in part 2. This is for GLINE. For the others like Surgeon and whatever, it's a similar thing. There are some synergies and you will have to bring those synergies together, and then we are going to talk about it in part 1 itself. Then when we go to part 2, we are going to talk about various entities form, out of which we've already covered sole proprietorship. Now we will go on to C Corp. So the way we are going to do is we're going to link one concept with the other. So we're going to do C Corps first, then we're going to do partnership, then we're going to do S Corps. These two are relatively easier. It's completely theory. We're just going to touch upon this. See, in the US, the entire economy works very differently than how it works in India. In India, very few people actually religiously pay taxes. There's a rampant tax evasion and everybody knows about it. And we are at a stage when we are really trying to bridge these gaps, put everything on the system so that this becomes lesser and lesser with time. In the US, on the other hand, the system of tax is so simple that people don't try to evade taxes. And we will see how is that possible. Why is it that people find it easier to just file their taxes rather than, cooking ways to avoid taxes? So there's this whole concept. Now, are you aware of something called inheritance tax? Are you aware that there was something called inheritance tax in India at some point of time? And now it's no longer there. But are you aware of the term inheritance tax? If you have time, just Google it a bit and read about it. We're going to use all of that because we're going to use all of that. So you'll see in the US, funnily, they have accepted the concept of inheritance tax. But in reality, you will see that nobody pays inheritance tax. So how is that system? So the point of incidence of taxation is so unique in the US that it's so much easier for people to just pay their taxes. So we're going to talk about all of those concepts when we're going to touch the gift tax and the estate tax concepts. And the last part, of course, there are three major areas here that we're going to talk about. See, the first area is penalties. Now, we know that tax laws everywhere in the world is self-assessed taxes. So what is self-assessed tax? Nobody comes and tells you how much tax you have to pay. Right? It's just like in India, we have a set of rules. We call them income tax rules, so and so, income tax act, so and so. And then we have a set of professionals. We have CAs, we have TRPs who help us file our tax returns. Similarly, in the US, nobody tells you, just like, like a penalty, that this is the tax you have to pay. We have laid out a system. We have helped you with professionals. According to me, today is one of the best degrees to pursue for the simple reason that you get a license. And if you're going in the tax field, this degree is as powerful as a degree that you get if you're a CPA. And the best part is it's not a state-centric degree. That means you can have a client from California, you can have a client from Arizona, you can have a client from anywhere, and you can still do that work. But in the US, if I'm a CPA registered in California, and if I want to take a client from Colorado and sign his or her return, then I need to get a license of Colorado. So that's the reason I feel a EA degree is so strong, because it gives you a license and you can do everything in tax that you at 1/4 of the cost and probably half of that time. Okay, so it's a very strong, and the depth of what we are doing is also tremendous. The only difference is we are not doing case studies, we are doing discrete MCQs. So what you have to do is you have to think in terms of getting the concept. Okay, so if you look at the exam in the US, yes, you will have MCQs, but the MCQs are going to be very, very tricky. They're going to test you on your base skills. Okay, so E is a paper, and if I look at GLIME as a content provider, GLIME gives you lots and lots of questions. But remember, 50% of those questions would also do for your exam. All you have to do is reach a stage when you've mastered a concept, and most importantly, you have to link one concept with another. So what do I mean by saying linking? If you are a C Corp, and if there is an expense that you are incurring, for example, you are giving your CEO a car, you should also know what would be the impact in 1040 of the CEO. So you're linking concept, you're understanding what will be the expense treatment for the C Corp, what would be the income treatment for the 1040, okay, for the person who's receiving the income. So think from IRS perspective, everything is income and expense. What is the income that I'm taxing? What is the expense that I'm allowing? So every time when you study, please link the concepts. If you're missing a class, make sure that you're following it up with the lecture, because you will not be able to follow the next class if you have not done the lecture earlier. Also, second thing, if you have not done the MCQs at your end, you will not. So I will assume that we are rising every class, but if you've not done the homework at your end, whatever I'm teaching you will be there in RAM. So think about it like this: I've put everything in your random access memory. The moment you complete the MCQs, it becomes a part of your hard disk. So after that, even if you forget small stuff here and there, the core concept you will not forget. So my job is to elevate your level with each class. Now these are topics which are cumulative topics. In other words, I feel you have to have knowledge of the first topic in order to grasp the next topic. So the seriousness with which you study would help you, because otherwise it will reach a stage when you will just come to the class and I'll give you the lecture, and if you've not followed it at your end, you will not follow anything. The idea is, when I teach you something, you also work at your end, and we both elevate our level in every session. And trust me, if you're doing your homework, I will make sure that by the time I complete my syllabus in the next 6 months, you are definitely exam ready to write your papers. So please put in that effort, because otherwise you'll have to restart that entire, whatever I'm teaching you right now. If you're attentive, I'm 100% sure it comes to your mind. But if you're not revising it, if you're not doing the MCQs, then everything will go away from your head. And remember, that means you have to again re-listen to the lecture, because you have to have that level before you go to the next level. The question paper is going to be damn easy, but very, very tricky. And you have to remember that the pass mark is 85. All the gyan that I'm giving you, the main job is to help you clear the exam. And that exam cannot be cleared if you just understand the provisions at a superficial level. You have to go to the depth, you have to link the concepts, and you have to really understand the provision rather than mugging them up. Okay, Gleim gives you a lot of hard questions also. They are never going to. So I have never seen a person come out of examination hall and tell me that the paper was very difficult. Everybody tells me paper was extremely tricky. So first of all, you have to be very attentive in the paper. And second, even when you're studying, you have to deal at the conceptual level, not at the superficial level. Otherwise, you'll not be able to clear the paper. As simple as that. If you have any questions, keep putting it in the chat panel. I would be more than happy to answer them. So that's as far as the syllabus is concerned. Anybody, any questions? Sakshi, I don't know what's wrong with your connection, but please see to it that you're not losing the class, because these classes are very important. And even if you're just showing up for the class, just show up. Your job is, just think of 1 week. I'll tell you how you should be studying at your end as far as your study strategy is concerned. But your job is, please attend. You have only 2 classes a week, not more than that. It's not much. I will make sure that I have 2 classes. Whatever happens at my end, if for some reason, if I'm not able to take a Thursday or a Friday session, I will compensate it with a Saturday. So for that part, I'm going to inform you beforehand, but please cooperate. Don't miss the classes. Just think of coming to the class, understanding the class, going back and finishing whatever we are doing in the class today. Okay, so if you can do that, then rest, leave it to me. I will make sure that we are online and we complete it by October. Okay. And this is as far as syllabus is concerned. Any questions? So that's the first part. Now, first of all, you have to understand that we can start booking our exams from May. So the window is always May to February. Okay, so the window is this year, May to February, but typically it's very difficult to get dates in February. So you have to think, and you cannot be ready till May. So I'll take you to the schedule. I think you can take part 1 and part 3. So I'll be finishing part 1, part 3, and part 2. My suggestion is be extremely aware of the dates. I have shared the PTN registration process. Prometric, keep on knowing when the dates are opening, when the dates are closing, so that when you are ready, the exam dates is booked. That is the biggest bottleneck of the exam. You don't get exam dates. So you have to be very aware of when the dates are releasing, because the moment the dates are out, the seats are getting booked in a fraction of seconds. So be aware, be in touch with your fellow, with the group. And everybody is writing their papers this year, guys. So we have anybody. So see, all my students have cleared if they have sat for the paper. The sad part is many of them are in the big fours. They're attending the classes, but they're not writing the papers. In both, in the cases that I'm having today, I'm pretty sure if you guys are serious, if you schedule your exam on time, you would be able to write your papers. But be very aware of this. And from today, be a part of the Telegram group so that you know when. So yesterday, I think day before yesterday, I had a student telling me that May slots are opening. So you should be aware of when are the slots opening. Okay, then only you would be knowing that, okay, now this is the route. Whenever a new slot comes in, I'll book it. Okay. For this year, we'll be studying the IRC. So in the US, we call it, in India, we have Income Tax Authority coming up with income tax codes. In the US, we call them Internal Revenue Code. So that's the law. That's the tax law in the US. And every year it undergoes a change. For the ES syllabus, what we'll be going to test it in 2025 are the tax laws that were released in 2024. So in your books, which are all updated now, I would suggest that you guys log into Gleim, download the books. I'll teach you how to download the books. Please download the books, be ready, because whenever I am teaching, I'll cover a particular area, a particular section. That section, I want you to do all the MCQs. So I'm going to talk about the preparation strategies now. Right now, I want to talk about the exams first. Okay, you have a 3.5 hours paper in which you have to solve 100 MCQs. Now, these 100 MCQs are weighted MCQs. So in the US, you don't have any negative marking for most of the paper. But the problem is, some of these 100 MCQs would have 0 weightage. Some of them may have 3. And the best part is you would not know which question has 0 weight and which question has 3 weightage. So weightages are not disclosed. Every question for you is the difference between winning and losing. So this is calibrated to 130 marks. So 100 questions have been allocated 130 marks. And nobody knows the pass grades because they don't advertise it. If you clear the paper, you simply get pass. If you fail, then they give you your marks. But it has been observed that somewhere around 85% you have to score. So actual 85, not 85%, actual 85% of the marks you have to score in order to clear the paper, which means we have very less scope to get it wrong. Okay, and the only way to do the paper and get it correct is if you chase concepts. So yes, there are a lot of stuff that you have to rote learn in the exam, but chase concepts, because if concepts are weak, you will not be able to clear this paper. That is for sure. Okay. Generally, we have 2 sessions of 50 questions each, but I don't know. Many people don't opt for this 15 minutes. In your mind, you should think 3.5 hours for 100 marks. 100 questions, 3.5 hours. So I'm going to tell you how should you ideally be preparing to ensure that you're exam ready. Okay. So what should be your strategy? Come up. First of all, show for the class. Okay. If you're missing the class, you should have the discipline to go home and do it at your end. And after the class, I want you to go. So whatever PPTs we'll be referring in the class, I'm going to upload those PPTs right away. You have to go through those PPTs again, understand everything, because by that time I would have decoded the PPTs to you, right? I would have explained everything to you. Just go through that PPT again and then do the MCQs of the relevant area from your line software. Okay, I'm going to take you through the software and I'm going to tell you how to make use of the software. Okay, but the idea is please go through the MCQs. The first time, do all the MCQs. Okay, all the MCQs. In case if you guys are really busy and if you're not able to do the MCQs, please talk to me. I will tell you what is the moment where you can stop doing the MCQs. Okay, but the idea is ideally I would want you to do all. And most importantly, I would want you to flag the questions. That means if, let's say, the population is 100 MCQs, I would want you to think of the revision. And when you revise, you should not be doing more than 40, 45 MCQs from each. That means when you have done full 100, 100% of the MCQs, you should be able to mark those very good MCQs which cover the concepts. Doesn't matter whether you got it right, whether you got it wrong. You should be covering those 40-45% of the MCQs that you would want to revisit. Please get this ready, guys, because you can do this only once when you're doing it for the first time. Remember, you will never have the time to repeat all the MCQs. So even if you want to do it, please don't stop flagging the questions. I will teach you how to flag the questions when I'm taking you to the Gleim software. So I need you to revise 3 times before you sit for the paper. And so 3 times revision is a must. And I would want continuous revision. Okay, what is continuous revision? What I mean by that, I'll explain that to you. So see, I generally believe in weekly targets. Okay, what I feel is I'm talking to a bunch of working professionals who would be working, who would have families. So there are other commitments. That's the reason I strongly believe in a weekday class, because I feel whatever you have to do, it's a part of your work. Saturday, Sunday, you should ideally be looking at 5-6 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday each, so that the next half, either first half or second half, you study and keep one half free for your family, because you're going to put this effort for the next 9-10 months for the writing the paper. And you would not want, to completely be absorbed in studies, because then there is something called, that burnout would come in, and I don't want that to come in. Okay, you have to think of sustaining a routine for the next 9-10 months at least. So what should be a preparation strategy? 2 things. I'll take you to the software and I'll tell you how I want you to study. But in case if you have queries, okay, what I'll do is every class, let's say the second class, Friday's class, I'm going to give you last half an hour for doubt solving. If you guys have any doubts, the idea is that you have to share those doubts with me. So it should be like, last class or last week's doubt, I should be covering this week. It should be like that, because I take up a bunch of questions that you have issues in and we discuss it. I'll give you half an hour, but please share the question and the answer in the WhatsApp group. Wherever you have issues, wherever you have questions, please share the screenshot of the question and the answer in the WhatsApp group. Everybody who will be taking the paper this year are in the WhatsApp group. So let everybody get a chance to answer. I'm also a part of that WhatsApp group. In case if you have issues, we will take that half an hour over a week. But you have to give me the question and the answer, so that I don't waste my time looking at the question live in the class. I should be prepared for that question before I come to the class. Any questions till now? Anybody? So what should be a study strategy? As I told you, I need you to revise at least 3 times. Okay, and I'll tell you what should be the ideal preparation for the 3 times. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, whatever is it, Sakshi, you've got to get it sorted. I don't know if you're joining from your laptop or your mobile phone. If it's a mobile phone, it's a strict no. Please do not join by a mobile phone. Please use a laptop to sync in. Have a good Wi-Fi connection. If you don't depend on the hotspots. Please have a good steady Wi-Fi connection at your home, or just invest in a good Reliance Jio, whatever broadband or whatever you have. But please do that, because otherwise, if you do this when it's a live class, you would not be able to follow the concepts. Okay, so you need 3 revisions. As I told you, every class will take you to the next level. So we are going to build up a foundation, and then we're going to build up all the concepts. And if you've understood part one really well, then it will be easier for you to understand part two also, because the related concepts are all linked with one another. So please follow the regime of the class seriously. Okay. As far as I am concerned, Pixalearn is concerned, be rest assured, till the time you've not cleared the paper, I'm going to support you. But in my opinion, please don't linger with this paper. In this year, we have to complete all the 3 papers. That should be your target. Okay. I will give you access, but then your time is more important. Okay, now see, when you go to this test bank, and please refer to this nicely, because how you use the software, it's like a tool in your hand. If you use it properly, it's going to be awesome. So please log in and access so this will be your account. And if you go to your personal classroom, you will see all the courses that are activated for you. So if I go on to view your online course, I will see all, I have all the 3 courses activated. In your case, you will have whatever courses you've activated, those will be showing here. So let's say I go to part one. So when I go to part one, there are two sections. One is the digital book, and other is the test bank. When you go to digital book, so there are 14 modules in part one. Each of these modules, the moment I go to it, a downloadable copy would be made available. You just have to download it, and when you download it, the book would be ready. If you want to print it, you can print it. My suggestion is, even if you want to print it, at least for the first 1 week, try to do it just, I want you to focus all your energies on the MCQs rather than on the text that much. The way we are going to teach in the class is going to be extremely detailed. And I don't think you will have the need to read the book, but still it's law. My suggestion is, the hierarchy that you should be following is this. The hierarchy that you should be following is, first come, attend the class, go back home, read the PPT once more that would be uploaded on the portal, and then immediately go and do the MCQs of that area. Immediately go and do the MCQs of that area. When you're doing the MCQ, now, so this is the book. Okay, so first thing what you should do is go log in today and download the entire book. And then this is the test bank. When you go to the test bank, it gives you 3 options. It gives you to create your practice exam. It gives you to create a study session, and it will help you understand your statistics, what has been your performance. Initially, I want you to do it via the study session. Take the Gleim suggested approach. And this is the beauty of the software, okay? Every topic. So let's say I have taken the first session. I may be completing the 3 topics. So first class, when I've completed the 3 topics, you should choose every topic wise, you should choose, and let's do all the MCQs in this topic. Try and do it initially. The first time when you do it in the standard Gleim order. So it will show you all the questions one by one. Okay, so the moment you have the questions, okay, please don't rush. Go through the questions slowly, the way you should be answering. So when I do the MCQs in the class, I will tell you the strategies that you should have in your mind to answer the question. Use those strategies, and whenever you have selected the answer, irrespective of whether your answer is right or wrong, I would want you to go and read the reasoning for each of these answers. For every question that you see, I want you to go and see the reasoning of why the other answers are incorrect. And then, do you see here, we have something called flag. Out of these 10 questions, ideally you should not be flagging more than 4 or 5 questions. And when you flag 4 or 5 questions, the idea is I should be choosing those questions that if I do those 5 questions, I have understood everything in those 10 questions. So a sample size should reflect the population, irrespective of whether you got it correct or whether you got it wrong. Okay, so let's say I flagged 3 questions. Okay, or let's say I flagged 4 questions. Now understand that in Gleim, these numbers 1.1.1, 1.1, these are unique numbers. Okay, So what you could do is, so let's say what I did, I flagged 4 questions, okay? And then I graded it. Now, what I want you to do is, next time, if I want you to understand where you have made mistakes, I can go here, I can review a study session. And when I review the session, you can easily understand what was the original answer, what did you mark and what you not mark. Okay, but the problem is with Gleim, you cannot run a study session with only your flagged questions. That option is not there. So what I want you to do is, if it's possible, just maintain an Excel sheet where you mark the questions, just the numbers, 1.1.1, 1.1.5, just maintain it in an Excel. And out of these, you will just do these 5-6 questions in your next attempt. Okay, if you want to do that, you can do it. Otherwise, you have to go to your history to review what was the earlier exam, what was the new one, what was, where is it that you made a mistake. All of these questions would come up when you're doing a review session. Okay, so the questions, keep a track of all of those questions that were marked. And every time when you do it, please read all the answer choices, whether it was correct, whether it was wrong. Okay, that will give you a sense of answering the questions. Okay, that's number one. Second thing, what I want you to do is, can you see these flagged questions? Okay, this was the one that we did just now. When you are reviewing a session, it will automatically tell you these were the questions that you flagged. But the problem is you'll have to keep track of which day you did what, because they don't give you the topic wise review of the session. Okay, so in my opinion, it will be great if you can keep a running Excel sheet of what are the questions that you would want to revisit. So that's number one. Second, what I want you to do is every week. So after the first 2 weeks, okay, in the first 2 weeks, I'll be completing at least 2 modules. After the first 2 weeks, in your study routine, every Saturday, Sunday, or one time every week, I want you to keep revising what we have done. Okay. So method is go back home, read the PPTs, go through the questions, do all the questions, flag the questions, and make an Excel sheet of what are the questions that you would want to revisit. That's number one. Second, every week you should have a routine in which you revise. So if you want to read the book, you should read it after you have attempted all the MCQs, not before. Okay, because the book is so huge that when even if you read it, you would not know the importance of every topic or the meaning of every small provision that you have. If you see a question here that we've not done in the class at all, please then that portion you go and review from your book. You will see that it will not be much. Probably it's not a very important area that I have skipped. But if you want to read the book, don't do it before sitting for the MCQs. Do it after you have finished your MCQs. Okay. And then if there's any marking that you want to do in your book, please go ahead and do that. But every week, you should have a revision session in which you keep revising what you've done from the beginning. And this is the time when I want you to start okay, please don't switch on the back button, because in Gleim, back button does not work. So what you have to do is you have to end the review. And what I want you to do is every week, the moment you start finishing modules, start creating a practice exam session for you, or create a custom quiz where you can start giving how many questions you want. So let's say I've completed the first and the second module. Then create a custom quiz in which I choose everything and I give you the number of questions, 30, 20, whatever is your time availability. Ideally, what I would want you to do is start with something like, 3.5 hours, you have to take 100 questions, right? So according to that, start with 20 questions at least with some time, and then increase it from 20 to 30, 30 to 40. So this should be your revision strategy, guys. When you're revising, revise from the topics, run a practice exam, and weekly start doing MCQs on a cumulative basis. Okay, because when you're doing it for the first time, you exactly know which area that question is coming from. But when you get it in your exam, it will be all mixed up. Okay, so your revision should always include the text and a paper every week, maybe 20 questions at the minimum, and try to increase it slowly. And let's say after a month, I'll tell you, okay, now you should sit for a 50 marks paper. Now you should sit for a 60 question paper. Try to increase it so that before the exam, at least 1 or 2 papers you give of 100 marks also. For that is the practice exam actually. Okay, if you want to give a full 100 marks paper, you'll get a practice exam. So your revision mode should be to create practice tests and keep doing it. And doing it with time so that you would know how much time you're taking to complete which portion. That is as far as the use of the software is concerned. And so every time I finish a module, I will give you from my side 20 questions as a part of your MCQ test I will strongly suggest that you should sit for that once you've done everything. And when you're clear with the concept, take those tests, because I will start understanding where you're making mistakes. Those questions are going to be very good questions. But if you can do those questions, I would understand that you have finished and you've understood the entire concept. So I'll give you MCQ tests and I will tell you this is the time I want you to take a 40 marks test from Glyme. So have a weekly revision concept. Bring it down to number of hours per week, and then all you have to do is show up for those hours. So if it is 18 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours, whatever that is for you, just think 1 week I have to put in this much hour and I'll be done with it. If you can do that in 3 weeks' time, trust me, in 6 months' time, you would be ready to write all the 3 papers. Okay, so ideally the aim should be that when I finish my syllabus, within a week, you should be able to finish everything and start parallelly revising, so that after the 2 weeks' time, when I have finished, let's say 2 modules, or one module. Let's say I just come. So initially I'll take a little slow because I want you guys to gear up and work with me so that you're able to see that whatever I'm covering, you can do it at your end. But I will pick up pace, guys. Okay. So once I pick up pace, by that time you should have your routine ready. So first 2 weeks, I want you to mark your time. Start, study, end time. And then after 2 weeks, you'll get an idea. Okay, I need to put in 18 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours in a week. Then I just want you to show up for those 20 hours. And I don't care how much is your work pressure, because there will be times of work pressure, there will be time of lean time. When you cannot study, don't bother yourself. When you can study, just gear up, put the pedal and study. That is the strategy from my side. Okay. How do you use the Pixalearn LMS? See, it's a very cool LMS, in my opinion. See, I've given you the schedule. We are going to, and that schedule is updated every 2 weeks. Okay. The live schedule, keep on knowing the status. So you'll know which class is going to be held when. So see, all the PDFs would be in the form of PDF. All of these are Zoom sessions. And once I've completed the session, like today's, your orientation session that I've finished, I will upload the lecture by the end of the day. And when that lecture is uploaded, I will just show you how that lecture will look like. So how do you join the class? You join it from the system. I'm just showing it to you from one of my live classes for CPA. See, once the course is completed, right, all that you will have is the PDF. This is for the recorded lecture. So the moment you see this, you know that it is a recorded lecture. And before that, you will have the Zoom link that changes for every class, and you can log in only via the LMS. You already know how to log into the LMS for the Zoom link. Okay, that's it. Okay, 2 things. Please see to it that you're accessing the course by only 2 logins, because the third login, the moment you do, it will stop letting you access the course. Okay, when I say 2 logins, it's not just 2 devices. It is also the same device, multiple browsers. Which means, let's say I have ghosh.shraddha@gmail.com and shraddha.ghosh@pixalearn.com. Both of them, if I do open 2 different browsers on the same laptop, it will register it as 2 logins. So be mindful of that, because every time you hit a roadblock, I will have to intervene and then I will have to allow you access. So see to it that you have 2 active logins and you're not sharing your login with anybody, because multiple logins create issues. Don't share your Glyme accesses with anybody. Glyme question paper, I want it to be a customized paper. And you will see the beauty of it. When you start redoing the questions, it will start showing you more questions where you made mistakes. So please don't share your Glyme access with anybody till the time you don't clear the paper. You clear the paper, then you share it, I don't mind. But till the time you don't finish the paper, don't share your Glyme access with anybody. Okay, I think that's it from my side today. Now you guys tell me what questions you have. Don't bother about whether the question is good, bad, easy, difficult. If you have a question, please put it to me. Yes, do you have a question? Anybody? First 2 weeks, the job that I'm giving you is get into a routine. That I know this many hours I need to clock in a week. I have to clock those number of hours. Okay, so if you can do that, I'm pretty. So it's just a matter of routine. If you can do that routinely every week, same time you show up for studies, you would be sorted.
Okay,
Okay,
sure.
one thing I want to tell you guys is this. I forgot to tell you this. See, this I'm going to share. I have already shared the forms with you. Everything is on the website. So the idea is, after you're done with the class from me, I would want, you can just type in form 1040 free download, form 1040 download. Okay. So the moment you go here, you will see not only the form, but even the instructions about the form are all available. So if you see form 1040, these are the instructions. So even if right now I don't want you to get into that stage, but I want you to understand is, after we are through with this, in your working life whenever you pick this up. Everything is available in free domain. IRS has given you all the instructions about each of those forms. All the forms are freely downloadable along with the instructions and the books and everything. All you have to know is how to use those to your advantage. And another thing that I want to tell you guys is don't waste your time on too much of digging and digging right now. Right now, be exam focused. Whatever we are doing, understand which areas are heavily tested, which areas aren't. Concentrate a lot on your exam right now. Don't get into the R&D mode and research mode. Just know which topics are most commonly tested. Okay, and extremely difficult questions that you see in Gline will definitely not be there in the paper, but that will help you strengthen the concepts. Okay, so there's no harm. I am 100%